Palace Forest this weekend, and there's been a bit of drama between those two clubs this summer because of their respective qualification for Europe and ownership structures. The clubs were, at the relevant time, each in the ownership of a person or group who also had ownership interests in other successful European clubs. And it's a basic premise of most competitions that you can't have two teams that are subject to the same ownership or influence potentially playing against each other, because that is a threat to the integrity of that competition. There is a real risk that people just wouldn't believe in it. And yet some clubs in multiple club ownership structures are able to play in competitions with their sibling clubs. Why is that? And the question I'm interested in is, what does the new Football Governance Act introduced in England this year have to say about any of that? The way it is reported that clubs in those ownership structures are allowed to continue playing in those competitions is by entering into blind trust arrangements. Blind trust is an arrangement in which someone still has the economic entitlement to the value of shares, but can't exercise the normal shareholder rights under those shares. So if the shares were sold, they'd get the money, but they shouldn't be able to do anything else with them. And therefore, in theory, for the period of the blind trust, they wouldn't be able to control the club. And that distinction is really important, because if they could control the club, despite the blind trust or otherwise, then you wouldn't have dealt with the integrity issue. And what does the Football Governance Act say about this? Well, nothing directly, but it might have quite a big impact indirectly, because it gives the Independent Football Regulator the competence to decide who can and cannot be a owner or a senior officer at a football club. And that includes in respect of shadow directors. A shadow director is someone who is not registered as a director, but otherwise looks and smells like a director. And clubs will need to inform and get the approval of the regulator for any changes on an ongoing basis to the ownership and the senior officers of that club. That means that if you had a blind trust arrangement that was a kind of sham, which I think is what some people worry about when they hear about those arrangements, because they seem opaque, then that would be a breach of that club and that person's legal duties. And when I say legal duties, I mean it is a criminal offence to give false or misleading information to the regulator.